everyone, welcome to my channel Mr. A's Education House. Today we will be discussing a concept of OC called Nature of Principles of Management. So this is a part of first chapter of OCM of standard 12th, and if you are a 12th standard student, this video might help you out. Okay, so let's begin. So what are these principles of management? Exactly what are they, we will be studying in the further sessions, but for a basic, let us say that these are just simple guidelines that some good managers have taken into consideration, have done some experiments on their staff and all, and have created a baseline for the future managers, so that the work of the future managers would get easy. Okay, what is the nature of these principles? That's what the core topic of today is, and let's just move further. For this I am referring the government textbook of Maharashtra government. You can find it on any government portals online, as well as you can also get them on the normal bookstores wherever you buy the textbooks. So the first point in the nature is universal application. So yeah, all the principles of management are universally applicable. So let me put it in a way that you can understand. All of us are aware about the concept of gravity. All of us have learnt it as a child. So Mr. A jumps from a building in India. What will happen to Mr. A? Obviously he will get seriously injured or even die. But let's say the same person, Mr. A, goes to some other country, say USA, and then jumps from a building. Then what will happen? All of you will say that the result would be same. He would get seriously injured or even die. Why? So let's take the factors into consideration. India is a developing country, whereas USA is a developed country. India is moderately powered, whereas USA is super powered. Then why there is same result in the conclusion? So why the person got injured when he jumped from a building? Why? Because the concept of gravity is universally applicable. So gravity is everywhere. So if anyone jumps from a building, will fall down, and since they will fall down, they will get injured and they will die. Likewise, the principles of management too are universally applicable. So let's just say take a small part of the whole management activity, that is planning. So a person makes a plan in India. The plan is really good, the application too is good, then the person will gain success. Same person, or let's say even a different person forms a plan in USA. The plan is really good, the application is good, then the person there too will get success. So geographical location or caste or creed or race, nothing affects the principles of management. They are universally applicable. If the management is good, the results would be good, and if the management is bad, the results would be bad. So that's the concept of universal application. Next is general guidelines. Okay, so like I told in the introduction itself, one should remember that these principles are just the base guidelines. These are not hard and fast rules that are supposed to be applied. Like I compared to gravity previously, gravity is a hard and fast rule as well. It is universally applicable, but it is a hard and fast rule. So there is no way that we can change the concept of gravity. If something goes in air, it will fall down. But the concept of principles of management are general guidelines. So basically, like I told, the managers who gained success in the stream of management gave a basic guidelines for the future managers to follow. It's like you do this, just this, and your management will be good. You would prove to be a good manager. So it's like saying it's like a dancer. A good dancer teaches another dancer, you do these steps. If you can do these steps, you are a good dancer. Likewise, management itself is a guideline related concept, wherein the principles are the guidelines given by senior managers or managers who have gained success to other future managers to apply in their management skills. Next point is practice and experimentation. So continuing the above topic, above point, guidelines. If it's just guidelines, then why should I or anyone else should follow it? It's just guidelines. Why to follow it? So this point says that these are guidelines undoubtedly, but these guidelines are formed based on practice and experimentation. So the previous managers who have made these principles what they have done is tried, as in practiced these principles in their own management techniques, checked if the things, if the points got them success or not, if the points got their work done or not, and then they have quoted or written in their books that these are the principles which can be followed. They have experimented on people. Now here experimentation doesn't mean that scientific experimentation where they have injected, or no. They have just seen the changes in behavior. Or for example, let's say a worker was not working hard, or a worker was not feeling like working. They experimented in a way that they gave him more pay. They gave him something we call a warning, something like that, and then checked if it worked or not, like the result they got due to that was in their favor or not, and based on that experiments they have concluded that yes, this principle does work. Next is flexibility. Obviously, like I told, it's not something like gravity or such scientific rule. It's flexible in nature, and it is very important to remember that it's flexible in nature. Any manager should never be rigid. Rigidity is like literally opposite of management, because we are dealing with humans. So if we be rigid, it's not a thing that being rigid would lead to same rule. Even in two different persons, same thing has to be done differently, right? Let's say this person and this person is working, and they are working the same thing, but again the end result would be different because the people are different. Likewise, that's why the concept of flexibility is included in this. So let's take an example related to management itself. Say two people are not working well. Two different people are not working well. Then what did the manager do? That let's offer them a bit more pay. So he offered them a bit more pay. Say their base payment was 10,000. He offered them both 12,000 each. What he saw was that the person A improved the performance, but person B, again, even after getting 12,000, he's not working. He's still doing the same quality of work. Okay type. So what now? So what did the manager do? Again decreased his pay for the very first thing, and then warned him that if he continues like this, he might lose his job. Now in a way it is a negative type of reinforcement here, that he is warning that he will lose his job. But do remember that even the negative type of reinforcement does work in real life. Warnings does work, pressure from boss also works, but again not for everyone. These depends on person to person. There are people who prefer positive reinforcement and improve their performance due to positive enforcement, and there are people who are rigid themselves, so the other people too need to be rigid while dealing with them. Okay, so that's the concept of flexibility, wherein the management should be considering that every people is different, and hence the way of dealing should be flexible and should be changed according to the person we are dealing with. It's behavioral in nature. By now, by studying the 4 points we studied above, it's very obvious that we are dealing with human. And one thing about human is that they are not things, and let's just say they are not things in a way that factors like emotion affects them more, and factors like monetary gains affects them less. Yes, it is true. So let's put an example in this way, that like continuing the same example, in fact in a news channel it was shown was that if you know Infosys company, the owner of Infosys company talk to a laborer, a small laborer in his firm personally to check why he was not working well. So what he found out was that he was having some family issues, some health issues in family, due to which his work was not as per the quality expected. So this was a behavioral change. In this case, even if the money was offered, it wouldn't have mattered. Why? Because emotion is a factor here. So in this case, what's the ideal thing? The person is behaving due to the emotion. So focus should be on change of behavior. What can one do? Emotional guidance, or let's just say therapy type of thing, counseling. All that things comes into scenario due to the behavioral part of management. And just for the sake of general knowledge, in the modern world, like in right now the 21st century world, every firm, every good firm has a human resource department and a human resource manager themselves. So what does this human resource management do? They try to have control. Control is a harsh word. They try to deal with the behavior part of their staff. So they check day-to-day basis that their staff is working well, and if they are in problem, their staff is in problem, they call them in their office and help them deal with their problem, because that's what will get the firm a good behavior from their staff. Okay, so moving forward, next point is cause and effect relationship. Cause and effect relationship. Anything in world is cause and effect, I believe. Let it be management, let it be anything else in life. If there is something, there has to be something related to it in past. So let's just say if I slip on a wet floor, then in past someone made it wet. So me falling down was the effect, and someone wetting the floor was the cause. The same thing happens in management. So a manager has to keep in mind that what the problem he is facing is just a effect, or in medical terms it's a symptom. It's not the cause. So like in medical stream, it's said that to cure and to treat is very different. While treating, we just treat the symptoms, but if you want to cure someone, you need to find the root cause and then deal with the root cause. The same the same theory applies in the concept of management too. If a manager just keeps working on the problem, remember, problem was just a symptom, so he may treat the problem, but then that would be for a time being. But if he focuses on finding the cause, the root cause, then he might be able to cure the problem forever, in a way that the same problem will not arise in the firm again. So in such case, the example would be a bit harsh of, let's say, of staff stealing something from their firm. And I'm not saying it just for example, it does happen. Do keep in mind that it's not so good world. People do steal from their offices, even in current scenario they do. That's what something happens. So staff is stealing things from office, and it is affecting business in a bad manner. So it's not small things like stapler pin. It's staff is stealing some good amount of things like whole boxes of printing paper or something like that. Then it might lead to severe problems, a big amount of losses to the firm. So here, what's the problem? Losses is the problem. So if the manager keeps focusing on losses, that losses ho raha hai, let's do something to increase the profits, we don't want losses and all, then what would they do? They would hire some new staff. Then the same, if the culture is same, then the new staff too will learn from the old staff to steal, and even they will steal. Obviously the firm won't remove the whole staff, na? And they will remove a few people and bring in new people. Then they will increase the prices of their products to increase the profits. Then what will happen is this again would be another cause due to which the sales will decline. A demand and supply rule. So one problem might lead to another problem and the chain of problems will start. So rather, what should a manager do in this case? Find out in a way that what part is showing the losses. So like if I continue my example, then the expenses in printing and stationery would be very high. Then the manager should find why the expenses in printing and stationery is high. Where are we using so much of printing and stationery? Then the manager will find that no, the use of printing and stationery is the way it should be. It's moderate, but then why the expenses are more? Because then he will slowly and steadily, due to some methods or tricks, he will find out that people are stealing, and then the action should be taken against that particular people and not the whole staff in general, like he did previously. He removed some people and brought in new people. So if the same action, see, the actions are same, he removed some people and brought in new people, but whom did he remove also matters. So if he removes the people who stole exactly, it would create an example to others also that this manager is not someone we mess with, because he will directly remove us from the firm and stealing would stop. And obviously the people who were stealing are already out of the firm. So the fish in the pond approach, one bad fish spoils the whole pond, that approach will also get erased. So that's how cause and effect works, and that's how it should work. So and the last point is equal importance. So let me put it this way, in a manner you can understand. I am a boy, let's say, if, that's a big if, keep in mind, if I believe that boys are more important than girls. The bad part is Indian society does believe that, and due to which we are a discriminative type of society. But I don't believe that. Let's say, that's why I'm telling, let's say if I believe this concept, then likewise even girls believe, okay, girls are more important than boys. Okay, so let's be harsh. If boys are more important, there is no need for girls. Let's just eliminate all the girls from the world. Do you think world will survive? There are no girls in world, then will the world survive? Likewise, vice versa. If girls think that they are more important, boys are not important, let's eliminate all the boys from the world. There are no boys in the world, only girls. Do you think world will survive? Obviously, no. Likewise, so here also I am trying to teach you that don't believe in this gender discrimination thing. Everyone is important, and technically no one is important. So keep these both things in mind. Everyone is equally important, as well as no one is important. So don't get too egoistic that you are very important. No, you are not. No one is so important, and everyone is equally important at the same time. Likewise, coming back to the topic, management, there are several principles which we'll learn in the upcoming sessions. There are 14 in all, the most famous ones, and also there are different by different authors. So all these principles, one can say this particular principle I like more, I apply more. No, it's not right. All the principles are equally important. A person has to apply all of them and to get the best results. Obviously, if you want one particular type of results, then it is good if you apply that particular principle. But if you want a overall impact, a overall good management, a package, a combo, then you will have to apply all the 14 of them. Then and only then you will get the results you want. Okay, so that was the whole answer, but this was the teaching learning part, the explanation part, or the conceptual part. Now you will say that we want to score in exam, we want to remember this answer in a way that it's easy for us. So like I told, there are 7 points. and I will give you a shortcut. It's better if you write it down, this shortcut, and after learning this shortcut it would be very easy for you to remember this answer, at least the head points. Now remember, why are the head points more important than the rest of the answer? See, head points are more important because that's the thing the teacher sees very first. Okay, so there is a student who is not so brilliant, but he has written all the head points well. Of course he has to write the content also. I'm not saying, keep this in mind, I'm pressing it again, I'm not saying to not write the content, but the content he has written is a bit short, say of 3-4 lines. Whereas there is another brilliant student, he is brilliant, but he has written only 5 points, but under that 5 point he has written 10 lines in each point, each head point. Who do you think will score more? The student who has written all the 7 points will score more. Why? Because for a teacher, for a paper checker, the student who has written 7 points knows 7 things, whereas the student who has written 5 points knows 5 points in depth. So does this mean that in-depth knowledge doesn't matter? No, obviously in-depth knowledge does matter, but not from paper point of view. Paper point of view, you are supposed to, like in management, you are supposed to manage the answer considering the time factor of the exam and considering the marks that are related. So if a 10-mark question, you will have to write all the 7 points, and you will have to write at least 5 to 7 lines in each point. So keep this in mind. The whole full-fledged answer should be ready in this session itself. Okay, so coming back to the points, what I was telling is I have found I have an easy way for you to remember this answer. I'm giving you a shortcut which will help you remember all the key points or the head points of the answer. So there is a short story related to it, that there is a man, okay, there is a man who has nothing. There is a man who has nothing. He has lost everything, and he doesn't even have a good vessel to beg in. So does begging need vessel? Yes. Where would the guy keep the money? So he doesn't even have a vessel to beg in. He uses a small cup because he is flexible in nature. Okay, so why this story? To remember the keywords. A flexible person bags in a cup. Flexible, bag, cup. That's the 3 things you have to remember in this. So flexible, the point itself was flexible, and even in the story it's flexible. Then bag, spelling of bag is B-E-G. Here B stands for behavioral in nature, E stands for equal importance, G stands for general guidelines. Then cup, C stands for cause and effect, U stands for universal, and P stands for practice and experimentation. So remember this, the man, a flexible man, bags in a cup, flexible bag, cup, flexible, behavioral in nature, equal of importance, general guidelines, cause and effect, universal, and practice and experiments. So write this down somewhere, or you can view this video again if you want to. Flexible, bag, cup. So this is the answer. I would suggest you to prepare your own answer. Obviously use the government textbook while you are preparing it. From my side, there is no need to refer any other textbook or any other notes. Of course, if your college wants you to use some particular textbook, obviously do that, because before boards the rest of the exams are under the college, so you have to listen to your college as well. So if your college wants you to do that, but as far I am concerned, government textbook is the best. obviously government has prepared it, and finally government is going to conduct the exam, so they are the best ones. That's all you want to crack the exams. And this answer itself is based on the government textbook, so a few points might not tally with other textbooks, so do consider that points while studying for your college exams. So that's all for this video. I hope you like the content of the video, and for more such education related videos, especially for commerce stream, uh, do subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon, like this video, if press like button if you like the video, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.